Hello, everyone. I'm Gerald TarotStache. Thank you for joining me today as I welcome Wisdom Seeker Joan. Hello.
Hello, and thank you for having me here today.
I am thrilled to have you here because this is a Joan made me do it. We are doing a Divine Feather Messenger deck casual. And when I first was introduced to this deck, because I got a reading from you probably, 2, 3 years ago?
Quite a while ago, yeah.
And, it was one of those things that it was one of the decks, one of the cards that you pulled for me. I think it was Hawk. It feels about right, but it could be a different one. And, it was quite good, and I am fortunate to share space with you and to do some readings with you. And you use the Divine Feathers Messenger deck, so it's quite lovely. So um, links to both of our channels are in the description, as are links to this deck, which is a US Games deck, and also it's by Alison DeNicola, and the artwork is by David Schreier. Links to both of their channel or both of their websites are below. So feel free to give that a peek. Give that a peek. So okay. I'm gonna pause for a second because I'm like going, woo! I just it's so much fun to talk about this deck. It's a wonderful deck. So
I love this deck, and I don't have many decks, but I'm very committed to that one, and I really, it gives you a lot of breadth, a lot of things to work with.
absolutely. And as always, please purchase responsibly. Know your limits. We are here to share, not to sell. And as always, this is for entertainment purposes only. Do not make decisions based upon what we say. Seek professional assistance. Really. So we've got some wonderful people here. And I have put in a link to where to purchase the deck through US Games. Michelle Marie is here, and Jonathan. Oh, and she found a beautiful feather yesterday. I like that. And Maru said, I just got the feather card in my meta reading over on Hershey the Shadow Reader's channel. Oh, I love that.
Yeah.
Kaylee from Fogo Pogo is here. Hi, Kaylee. And we also have James Davis. Hi, James. Joanne Miranda, Jenny Berlin, Aquila B24. Hi, Aquila. Russ Bob's Barbara. And we have so many great people. Flower Beauty, Peacock Rainbow. Hello. Amanda Carroll. It's great to see everybody. And Rush is here. Hello. Jenny Berlin and Denise Fletcher Tarot. Hello, Denise. Hypnicity. We've got, I love this. So many great people here. And Spiritual Garden is here. I am curious is this, if you could put in the chat, how many of you have this deck? So, because that's, I'm curious about that. And so, okay. So I'll just, because hashtag I'm an overachiever, I have preparation.
Good for
And
you.
so okay, so how did you come across this deck? That's what I'm curious about.
Well, I was taking a class. This is several years ago now. I think it was from Susan Lynn, or maybe it was part of her.
Mhm.
Anyhow, but she said, go out and get an oracle deck. And I had one, but it wasn't really working for me. So I went to a spiritual shop that's no longer in business. And oh man, I looked through they had lots and lots of oracle decks, and I must have spent over an hour looking at each one of them.
Good.
Just
Mhm.
took my time, and this one looks good, and this one looks good, but I kept coming back to the birds, and it was so beautiful, and I love birds so much that I thought this has to be it. So, yeah, and I've just loved it ever since.
That's wonderful. I do have to say, Kaylee has said, "Don't have it yet." And Joanne Miranda, not this deck. However, I have two other bird decks. So, and Garnett has joined us. Hello, Garnett. Good to see you, Bora Bora.
Hey, Bora Bora,
Um,
Garnet.
and so, okay, so it makes sense that you kept going back to the birds because you have a connection with birds.
Yeah, I think lots of people do. I'm not an official birder, but I was saying I'm kind of birder adjacent because my late sister-in-law was very serious birder, and she was a licensed bird bander and naturalist. And so she knew, I was always picking up information from her about birds. I was just thinking, oh, um, I didn't know before that blue jays and crows are in the same family and they're kind of cousins. And it's like just
Mhm.
lots of things. But I always kind of grew up, just liking the backyard birds and being able to recognize a couple calls. But when I met my husband, who I think she picked, or I think they were much more into birds, his family, than mine, and especially his sister.
I love that. And so the technology has really changed. You can get an app and you can turn that app on and have it listen to what you're hearing, and it will tell you the birds that are in there.
Wow. I
Yeah.
didn't know that one. One of my favorites is the Merlin app that the Cornell Labs put out. It's a
Ooh.
freebie. And one of the things my husband used to do was he'd sit in the backyard and then just like the recordings are so good, he'd put on a recording from that app of a cardinal, and then all the cardinals would come in and answer him. So he'd be talking to the birds. Yeah, so those are fun.
I think that's fun. Um, Maru said, I looked at a feather deck from New Zealand. This one is more accessible. I don't have any other bird decks. However, this one is really accessible. I like the setup of it quite a bit. So, Garnet saw a skylark just recently.
Ooh,
Like
I've never seen a
yesterday.
skylark.
Hmm. And Donna Marie is here. Amanda Carroll. I do want to encourage everyone to go over and show some support for Joan. Her channel link is in the description. And this is me being pushy. Go over and show some support. She is at 632 subscribers. It would be wonderful to get her up to 635, or 639. So then there you have all of the threes.
Ooh, that'd
So
be cool.
yes,
Thank you very much.
you're very welcome. And Joanne said, my neighbor has some cardinals in her backyard.
Oh, I
So,
gotta love a cardinal.
yes. Yeah, Linda Kelzer is here. I'm a big fan of cardinals. So, but one thing you probably all don't know about me is I actually have feather tattoos on my leg, and I have a lot of different feathers and a lot of different species, and no, I'm not telling you why, but feathers are important for
Yeah,
me. So,
I
and
love feathers. And I know of several people. Uh, One was a friend of mine I worked with decades ago, and she called me up one day and said, Joan, a feather appeared in my house. And her sister had just died, and there was no feather, nothing down, no down pillows or blankets, and all of a sudden this big white feather just appeared. And I said, well, yeah, that was probably your sister. And it's happened more than once for her.
yeah.
And birds and feathers, I think, they're creatures of the air, like butterflies and
Mhm.
dragonflies. I think they may be easily influenced from the thoughts of those on the other side. So that's another reason that I love them.
That makes a lot of sense. That makes a lot of sense. So I'm going to go into some of the physicality of the deck. It does come in a 2-part box, and it has thumb holes, space for your thumbs. And it comes with an insert like this to hold the cards, because the cards are a slightly different size. Nice little box, actually. Nice little box. It does come with a little white book, or a guidebook, which is 77 pages. Now, what's nice about this is there is a short description of the bird, and then there is a message from that bird, and then there's energies associated with it, and then we have a season, we have an element, we have a color, and then an affirmation for every single bird, for all of the birds, all 44 of them. So it's quite nice. It is not edged, and so it comes like this. And for everybody who the size of the deck is 2.5 by 5 inches, so it is narrower than your usual standard RWS deck, and taller. So you can see here, if I do that, you can see a little bit better. So it's a little taller. I actually like this size quite a bit.
They're easy to handle.
They're really, really easy to handle. Really easy to handle. So, and okay, so let me get it caught up in chat. Okay, Linda has looked at that deck several times, but have not bought it yet. Purchase responsibly, know your limits. And Jenny Berlin has finches and hummingbirds. And Amanda's good with her crow calls. Yes. And
do they answer you back, Amanda? Let
That's
us
a good
know.
question. Do they answer you back? I love that. So, yeah, this is wonderful. And so this deck, what's okay. So the artist is David Schreier, and I have to say, David is an amazing artist. He's a watercolorist. I love these, if not for the messages, but simply for the quality of the images. Say, for instance, this on one side of the deck, one side of each card, we have a feather, and then on the other side, we have the name of the bird, a picture, a watercolor of the bird in full size, and then a message at the bottom, some information. So it's really very, very nice. Really very nice. So hi, Cottonwood Heart. And Amanda said they call in their partners, so that's kind of an answer. So, and so, and again, it shuffles very nicely. It's a decent cardstock. I don't know how big it is, what the size is, but it's quite nice. So, by the way, this deck, if you go to the US Games, it won a lot of awards in 2020. And so People's Choice Awards, Industry Choice Awards, COVR Award, gold winner, visionary product. I mean, so it's quite wonderful. So, okay. So, anything else you'd like to talk about with the deck in general before we start sharing our cards?
One of them is, you brought up the white owl, which is really a snowy owl. And one of the cool things about this deck is it's the white owl and the white eagle and a couple of other white things that they say these are like major arcana. When these come up, and I think there's the white eagle. And Garnet made me think of this when he said he saw an albino blackbird, because like the white eagle is really just an albino version. But I don't know. I don't have enough oracle cards to know if that's common, to take certain cards and make them more like major arcana cards in the tarot deck.
I think that's a great thing to know. And because it was curious when in the guidebook. By the way, this guidebook is very nice. It has numbers so that if you need help finding the cards, but the white swan, turkey, eagle, and owl are at the top of the list rather than alphabetically in.
Right.
So yeah, okay, that's cool. Interesting. Okay, cool. And Joan, have you seen White Winnie Tarot? It's white owls on all of the cards.
I'll have to look that up. Thanks for the tip. I have to write this down.
And Amanda Kara said, "Ooh, white owls. I've had them in dreams." Yes. Some. And G. Covington is here. So Jenny Berlin. G. Covington said, "Hello, Joan. It's been a minute listening on the down low at work."
Good for you.
Shh.
Hi, G. Covington.
Yes. So that's a great little great insight on that. So cool. Okay. And I love how, well, they said white owl, but it's really a snowy owl. Spoken like somebody who knows their
bird nerd.
Bird nerd. I love that. Bird nerd. So, okay. Anything else about it before I'm going to have you start.
Okay.
Because I got this deck because of you. And I purchased responsibly. I knew my limits, because if you ever get a reading with Wisdom Seeker Joan, and all of us who watch a lot of tarot online or readings online, there's certain readers who truly connect with their decks, oracle or tarot, and boy, the energy just flows. And you are certainly one. You flow with this energy, and it's really powerful. So it's like cool.
I really like the deck and the descriptions and everything, but just I think sometimes Spirit says, well, gives me a card because they know of a personal experience or an idea or just some knowledge I have about that bird, however general it might be. And yeah, so I enjoy using it. And when I finally got around to reading the deck or to the book, they have some good insights about the birds that are beyond what's on the card. That was really, really nice. Yeah.
Well, yeah. And Sun Psychic Jean is on the road, wanted to stop by and say hello.
Hey, hello. Jean.
Jean, it's lovely to see you.
Thanks for tuning in.
Yes. And so, yeah, I think what's really powerful about oracle decks is when we have, like you have experiences with birds and lots of different experiences, those stories, I believe, are important for us to remember and share them with the person for whom we're reading, because there's a connection. Oftentimes, I think there's a connection with them.
Yeah, I think so too.
But yeah, so okay. So again, let's go ahead, and there's 44 cards, and I'm asking Joan to pick out, her top 10 cards, was asking her to pick which of her children is her favorite. So we'll do as best as we can. So I'm going to have you start. Oh, okay. Wait a minute. Tell people how you have your deck separated.
Well, Gerald asked me to pick some of my favorites, and it was like picking your children. And so I went through and picked out all my favorites, and it was like 3/4 of the deck. So then I thought, well, this isn't going to work. So I organized them into, the raptors and the water birds and the wading birds and on all of these different types. So maybe I can take just one from each of the groups and talk about the group and overachieving.
Love that.
I
Well,
love them all.
well, see, and what's really what that tells me as an author and an artist, I would think that you have taken the tool that they've created and you have made it your own. And that, I think, for anyone who creates a deck or does any writing of a spiritual nature, they want people to develop a connection with it. So
Make it sort of a
I think
launch
that's
part.
perfect.
The
Yeah.
other thing that I thought was instructive about that exercise was when I looked at the quarter of the deck it was like, okay, they're fine, but they're not my favorites. I'd very, I don't think I've ever pulled some of those cards in readings.
Interesting. Okay.
So these obviously are the ones that speak to me, and those are the ones that I get fed. So, so that's kind of fun. But I'll start off from a group of a bunch of them that I categorize just as the small but feisty little birds. And one of them is the kingfisher. And here's the feather, which is lovely, but there's several birds that have similar feathers to that. But the kingfisher is this wonderful little blue bird that, as its name says, it'll swoop over the water and get fish and everything. And it's about prosperity. Yeah,
Oh
I
yeah.
just love it. And I love the watercolor wash in the background and how sharp that little eye is. And it's not a big bird, but it's known for being kind of aggressive and really good at what it does. So prosperity is flowing. He gets what he wants, that little kingfisher.
That's amazing. I love that.
And
And at the bottom of this, it says, prosperity is flowing. Have faith that you will receive it in the perfect form.
and Madame Maru's House of Cards said the kingfisher is her patronus.
Oh, that's fun.
Oh, that's right. And the kingfisher was known as, I think it was it the kingfisher or the dove? As when Noah sent a bird out to see if there was land. I think it was the dove, but sometimes they say kingfisher too. The bird that came back to say that, yeah, there was land.
Love that. I love that.
That's the other thing. There's so, birds have been with us through the ages, and so there's so much lore built up
Yes.
over the years.
Yes.
So what's one of your faves?
Well, one of my faves is the bluebird. And part of that is I like it because bluebird, and it makes some people who are watching who have seen me do some shows with Hershey the Shadow Reader, that bluebirds are a bit fun. However, bluebirds are one of those things. It's great when I see them, and I love the message here. You are being gifted with blessings of happiness and peace. And I mean, the bluebird of paradise, the blue is an important color for me personally. And so when a bluebird shows up, it's like, okay, pay attention. This is quite amazing. Quite amazing. So
And the birders, the real birders here, will be able to correct me, but I think it's the bluebird and the blue jay that the actual pigment in the feathers is not blue. We only see them as blue when the sun shines through them. And so there's sort of another layer of depth and in those two too, that it's through the light that we see the beauty.
isn't that an important thing? Through
Yeah.
the light, we see the beauty.
Yeah. Even in things that aren't literally there.
Yeah. So
Okay. One of mine. Well, I put a group of wading birds, the herons and the cranes, but especially the heron, which is, here's the heron. And I think this is a great blue, although it's really various shades of gray. And I love them because let's see, it says, let go of convention and follow your own unique path. but also because they're just so great looking, and they're kind of prehistoric looking and everything. But
Mhm.
all those wading birds make me think of the way that they fish. Other than the egrets and especially the egrets and the herons, most of them stand there and wait for the fish to come up to them. So they're really calm and they're really quiet, and they're not,
Oh,
except there's one, I think it's the reddish egret or the reddish heron that goes swooping around and chasing the fish. But for the main part, the wading birds are very calm and they just wait for the fish to come to them, and then they strike. And I think a lot of us could take that approach sometime, to just calm down and manifest it. So I think they're good manifestors.
I like that because there is oftentimes we forget that sometimes waiting is the best option instead of hurrying and trying to go out and find. I like that. The
And
heron
these
is also in my favorites.
Okay. And
Yeah.
another thing they'll do is they'll put their wings out while they're standing there in the water to create shade if it's a really sunny day. So then the fish want to come in and be in the cool shade, and then they've got lunch.
They're smart.
Yes,
They're smart.
evolution will do that for you.
Yes. Oh my gosh. Yeah. Okay, and you also had the crane out. Um,
Yes. And I like them because we almost lost them, the sandhill cranes, and
mm,
now they're back. And so it's to me, in addition to the message on the card, it's about perseverance, and you can get through this. You can come through
very
a difficult
nice.
time.
Very nice. And I also just the heron on the shield of Heron Bay, Kent.
Ooh,
There you go. Okay. And I also say this also, they have long legs, and sometimes for me visually, the long legs say have a higher perspective. Not only flying birds have a higher perspective, but while they're waiting, they can have that higher perspective and see broader things. So,
yeah.
so that's great. Love that. You can go ahead and do another one because the heron was already in my thing. I think the heron is a very powerfully spiritual bird for me. And I think it's just one that I don't know. It feels very magical to me.
Ooh, the UK have just had the crane return to breed. That's wonderful.
Oh, nice. Yeah. And
Yeah.
Kaylee says, watching the herons fly, their silhouette is so cool. And Amanda shared that Costa Rica has over 120
Oh,
varieties of hummingbirds. Bird paradise.
I have to get there.
Yeah. Nice.
Well, another favorite of mine, because it's my state bird, the loon. They're so wonderful. They're so prehistoric looking, and there's nothing like them. They have the wonderful call, uh, and I won't make it for you here, but this a nice little warble and everything. So, and they're such distinctive flyers. The These birds were not made to fly efficiently. They were made to swim underwater. They're not just like dunking like a goose or a duck does. They swim underwater, and their legs are way back on their bodies, so that they're really good underwater swimmers, and that's how they fish. But because they're not perching birds, when they come back to Minnesota, and the other thing is, they remind me of perspective and transformation, because when you see them, sometimes I've taken vacations down to Mexico and looked at and gone on birding trips, and I didn't recognize them in their winter plumage. I'd never seen them in their winter plumage.
Oh,
So here they look so fabulous and all decked out, but in the wintertime, they're just gray. And I never would have even recognized them. So it's like the ability to change and adapt to the situation is something that the loons have, and that kind of comes through in messages too.
hmm.
But the official message is pay attention to your dream time. Messages of guidance are drifting in. The other
Wow.
thing about loons is sort of sad if they, because they don't perch like a lot of water birds, if when they migrate back north, if the lakes aren't open, they just fall out of the sky because they get tired out and they just drop. So it's really, they have to be really, really attuned. And weather is so changeable here, it can be, you know, it, the ice out doesn't always come at the same time. So yeah.
Yeah. Is it on Golden Pond that we heard them calling the loon?
Yes.
Okay,
Yeah.
what I thought.
Ooh.
I thought so.
I said I wasn't going to do it, but
And Michelle Marie said, I adore herons. I received a feather for my birthday every year from Blue, a heron who lived by the river behind our apartment. Collie sent me a lovely uh, witch who was happy to receive them before we left. I love that.
wonderful.
And Maru said, Latvians keep wheels on top of their houses for stork nests. It's considered lucky to have a stork nest on their house.
Oh, and
And
those nests are amazing. Just big, huge piles of sticks. Yeah.
yes. And Bora Bora has said that the working link to this is in the description. I also put it into your chat so people could see that there.
Thank you.
And my high school had an annual bird calling contest, and some of the winners were on the Johnny Carson show. It was
I
a
remember that. That was a highlight. How cool, Amanda.
Hi, Jonathan Daly. Thank you for joining us. And in Canada, our $1 coin is named after them because there's a loon on the coin.
And called loonies.
Loonies, and we call it loonies. Oh, that's
Yeah.
great. Yay.
Yeah. Loons are magical.
Yay.
So what's your
So,
next?
cardinal.
Of course.
And because cardinals were always a big deal, my mom would always be looking for cardinals. It was great because you can see the male cardinals, which are the red ones, easily in the snow. And that always felt good. It's the females that are green gray. And I always, what's interesting is stand tall and proud, see the leadership role unfolding around you. And a lot of times, what I think is really funny is the cardinals. A lot of times, you'll see during the winter holidays, they will sell cardinals in pairs. They'll sell two red cardinals, which I think is hilarious because basically they're two male cardinals. And I'm like, okay, um, I'm good with that. So it's I really like the cardinals, and we do have some cardinals around here, and occasionally they'll drop a feather, and that's really beautiful when they do. So
They're amazing.
and love, love, love cardinals. The females are so beautiful, underappreciated. We have the same pair that comes back every year to raise babies in my parents' backyard. Love watching the cute, fluffy, fluffy babies. I love that.
And they've got really good eyesight for birds. So they'll be like the last ones at the feeder in the evening and the first ones in the morning. You can hear them chip, chip, chipping. Yeah,
That's great. Cardinals are symbols for passed on family, yes, and
definitely for me too.
a cardinal symbolize a welcome home in indigenous lore.
Cool.
Hmm. Yeah, Jonathan said they have cardinals and Japanese cardinals on Maui. So
A cardinal was a symbol for my dad after he passed. And then the morning after my mom passed, both my sister and I went home, did the laundry, hanging out the laundry outside, and a cardinal was there. The male cardinal was there singing and singing and singing for both of us. So it was like, yes,
mhm,
dad saying, thank you for taking care of her, getting her on her way. So that was beautiful.
I love that. All right, what's your next favorite?
Oh, let's see. Well, I had cardinal too. Let's do one of the raptors, Vulcan. I love raptors. They're amazing. They're the meat eaters of the bird world.
Mhm.
And they all have such great eyesight and such keen perception. And falcons are amazing. The peregrine, and this looks like a peregrine to me. The real birders can correct me if I'm wrong, but they are known to fly up to 240 miles an hour. They're
Wow.
the yes, and actually, some fighter jets they used the Falcon as to kind of mimic some of the Falcon's design for some of these fighter jets and everything because they're so maneuverable and so fast and just deadly. But can I tell you my Falcon story?
Yes, please.
Okay. This was probably 30 years ago. We were on a car trip, my husband and young son and I, out west, going over the Bighorns in Wyoming. And there was a Native American ancient medicine wheel there. And it was great. It was kind of fenced off, and there were people left prayer flags and everything there. It was really beautiful. And my son was getting he didn't want to stick around. So my husband took him down to the car, and I was there because I said I was, I needed to had some private time and do a little prayer and everything there. And on the way down, I thought, oh, it's getting late. I gotta move. And this was during my running days. So I was running down the path, and then the path was like on top of a ridge, a mountain ridge. So we're really high up in the mountains. And as I was running, I looked off to the side, and here's this falcon. And it was like he was, 100 feet away or something like that. But we were kind of at the exact same altitude. And for a second, eye to eye, and it was like gulp. So I just stood in my tracks, and it started circling and circling and circling, and it went up to heaven. It was the most amazing thing. And I was like, okay, that meant something. I guess it was taking my prayers up to the other side. But at that time, I didn't know what it was. So the next town with a bookstore, I said, we got to stop. I have to go find a bird book and look that up.
Mhm.
And by the wing pattern, that's sort of like a W or an M, depending how you look at it, and the little mask that looks like a helmet that comes down like sideburns.
Mhm.
I said that was a peregrine falcon because we don't. They're not native to my state.
Uh-huh.
Um, and it was funny because I had two projects I was involved in at that time, and when I went home, it was like I was involved in some community group that it was like a road project and people were fighting about it. Somebody contacted me who wanted to join the group I was with, and I was a little iffy about him, but then he gave me his card, and it was like Peregrine was part of the business name, Peregrine Capital Management or something. Great, you're in. And then I was also working on a book project. This is back in the day when
Mhm.
pre-computer aided design and all that. And I was trying to pick out a designer for it. And again, one of the women who bid on it was from Peregrine Design. And I thought, yep, you're the one.
Oh, I love that.
And both of those projects worked out well.
I love that. That's perfect, and I like how you have this experience, and then it shows up
Yeah,
throughout your life in different ways.
yeah.
I like that quite a bit. I think that's wonderful. Do you wanna go ahead and share another one?
Oh, okay. Let's see. Well, you have to love the hummingbird. They're
Mhm.
just beautiful. And as someone was saying, there's a bunch of different ones, but this is a ruby-throated one, which is what I have in my neighborhood. And they're so light and so tiny, and they build these beautiful, tiny little nests, and they can hover and go up, down, backwards, forwards, just like
Mhm.
a helicopter.
Yeah,
And they're just kind of purpose built, the long, long beaks for getting nectar. Um, yeah, they're just joy with wings.
and, it's there's a lot of lore about them, and if you see one, you're considered pretty lucky. I see a lot of people now, actually, they have these hummingbird
Yeah.
things on, put this, over your face, and then you've
Oh,
got a clear thing here, and then they've got the hummingbird feeder, which don't put honey in that. Make sure that you're following instructions, and so that you can see the hummingbirds. It's really, really amazing.
I haven't
So,
seen those. They
all
beat their
those
wings. Oh, yes.
they beat the wings 160 times a minute.
Those little hearts are going so fast.
Yes, and super aggressive for such little birds. And Jonathan has a special connection with them.
Beautiful.
Kaylee said, I remember growing up watching them at my grandmother's. They'd body check each other out of the sky to get to the feeders.
I
Ah,
need to put them in the group with small but feisty birds.
yeah, there you go. Their chirp are so healing too, the hummingbirds.
I
So,
love them.
Spiritual Garden said, we have a lot of ospreys around here as well. And the only winter humming bird here in Oregon, the Anna's hummingbird.
Yeah,
So,
they're
love
amazing
that.
too. Yep.
And there is an osprey in this, so I will just show that so that people can see that. So there's an osprey. And then I really like this artist's ability to capture these feathers. They look so light. They're incredible.
They're such good fisher birds.
Are they? Oh, that's
Yes.
great.
And I remember being out in the middle of a lake swimming once and saw an osprey just circling above, and it was like I felt like I never felt so much like a fish, like prey. And you can imagine what any little thing would feel like if they looked up and saw that thing coming from.
Oh my
It's like
God.
after that, even though it's like, well, no, they wouldn't have been able to carry me away, but still, I kind of came in to the shore after that. They're
Yeah.
amazing.
So, Had Enough has arrived. Good to see you. So, all right, I have just three more, but if you have more, please go. Please, by all means, share.
Well, let's see. Um, I've done raptors. Well, I love the canary too. I had a canary when I was a kid.
Canary is one of mine as well. I mean,
For the sensitivity, um, and the song and the beauty and all of that. But it's the canary in the coal mine. I think
mhm,
that whole concept that they used to take them down in coal mines, and if the canary died, that wasn't safe for people, which was hard on the canary. But it shows us there are they kind of have extrasensory perception in some ways.
step forward now and sing your song. There is power in finding your voice.
Yeah.
And I have to say, Joan, that's a really important thing right now. People having their voice, using their voice, and it doesn't need to be loud. It just needs to be used, because the more people using and finding your voice, I think the more power that's available.
Yeah.
So, and Linda is here. So thank you, Linda. So I love that. That's great. And I think is it the osprey that are related to dinosaurs, our feathered friends? Is it
All
the
of them are.
all of them are? Yeah, that's right. Okay. They are. They are. Some. Well, that was another one of mine. Go ahead. We'll you're my guest. I'm putting you on the spot. I'm giving you an opportunity to share all of the love.
Okay, let's see who else. Um, well, even though some people don't like it, the starling. Um, I like their feathers. They're kind of iridescent, and they say it's now time to get out into the world and connect in authentic ways. The starling kind of gets a bad rap because they have these huge flocks of them, but they're the ones that do the murmurations, massive flocks of starlings making beautiful patterns in the sky, which is just amazing to behold. They do say it's been debunked, but I still like the old tale that starlings are not native. Well, this is true. They are not native to North America, and somebody brought them over and released like 40 pairs of them in Central Park, and other people did too. But that's what and then they just spread, and they're everywhere now. It was said that this person wanted to introduce all the birds that were mentioned in Shakespeare into the U.S. And but I think that has been debunked. It's still kind of a nice tale, but anyhow.
I love a good tale.
Yeah, it's a good story.
Yeah, it's a good story, because when you have a story like that, you got to wonder why it was changed and manipulated. I think that that's a really interesting thing. So, hi, Annette, and yeah. So, I mean, do they get what's the bad rap about?
Well, they eat crops.
Okay.
They especially they hang around feedlots for cattle and
Okay.
people say they spread disease. So they would be a group that would, if there's bird flu, they might be involved in that or something like that. But anyhow, I love the murmurations and how pretty they are.
Well, and the fact that all of those birds can move like that, I mean, come on. Kaylee was talking about they're adaptable, and it's really, really powerful. So, um,
I think I read that you can train them to talk, and maybe crows too.
really?
Maybe not crows. Crows are really, really, really smart. Um,
Hmm.
Garnet said he's got green parakeets all over in the UK. I
Yeah,
wonder if those were ones that were let go and then just started breeding.
could be. And Linda did say all birds are dinosaurs. You really get that when you live with them.
Oh, Linda knows about birds, definitely.
Yep. So, and Maru put in, the real dinosaurs are outside your window. Yes, birds are dinosaurs. Sean Harrell interviews dinosaur evolution expert Professor Roger Benson to unearth the latest research on the origin of birds. So,
Yeah.
yeah, magpies can talk. And magpies are also the ones where if you see a single magpie, it's sad. A lone magpie, it's because they mate for life.
Oh,
So,
yeah.
but yeah. So, yes, starlings and crows and ravens absolutely can talk. Not well, but you recognize the words. Yeah,
Good. Thanks for confirming that, Linda.
yeah. So, all right. I have the robin.
Love the robin.
The robin is a bird that is prolific around us where I live. This is, by the way, this is also an example of the artist has put, we see the long feather, but we also see the small feather. So some of these cards have two feathers so that you can get an understanding. Um, it's just really neat. And it says, new growth and potential is on the horizon. Reach out and embrace it.
Yes.
So robins are very prolific where I live.
Do they stay the whole winter?
Pretty much, yes. And I think there's some people in my neighborhood who are feeding. And again, as if you start to feed in the winter, you have to feed all winter. There's none,
Yes.
because the birds will die. So yeah, and
My
that's
husband liked to feed them, but I gave up on that because it started attracting rats, which I didn't want. But I have a heated bird bath, and it's so fun in the middle of winter because in the middle of winter the robins stay in the flocks. In the summertime, you see them mainly in pairs because they're doing their
Mhm.
phasing a family thing. And we used to call them the Council of Elders because a dozen of them would go around the edge of the heated bird bath and dip in and put their heads back, and it was just hilarious to watch them drink then. Yeah, but there were always big groups of them in the
Yep.
wintertime.
Yep. All right. What do you have? We've got time for a couple of more.
Well, this wouldn't be complete without the eagle.
Yes.
You're learning all aspects of spiritual connection and reaching new heights.
Mm-hmm.
And they are so big and so strong. But some things I like about the eagle that kind of click in sometimes when doing readings are, they raise their chicks together, or they both the male and the female take turns brooding, and then they work so it probably all birds are like this, but it's so obvious in eagles that they one of them or maybe both of them take turns fishing for the eaglets when they're little. But about around here, at least May or June, those eagles, the chicks have fledged, and by that time they're bigger than the parents, because the parents have been busy feeding those eaglets for months and months since they came out of the egg, and they needed to fatten them up because they're not really good at hunting yet. So it's this whole kind of back and forth. And also, we've got a lot of eagles since they banned DDT in this area, especially I'm near the Mississippi River. And a couple times a month, I drive along the Mississippi to see my sister, who's about an hour and a half away. And it's just eagles and turkey vultures everywhere. But one time I thought, what happened? There's no eagles. And then I realized it was during a cold snap when the river was all iced up. So there was no fishing. And so they had to go hunt for squirrels or bunnies or something a little less easy for them to do. But that was, to me, is a message of adaptability and change. And, you get used to one thing, but nature's very adaptable, and they figure it out right away.
Yeah. And and you can do a search on YouTube or the internet to see bird cameras. So if you're curious about that, search responsibly, but you can watch. And there is, here where I live downtown, they have a hawk camera because they have a hawk nest, and so they do watch that. So it is one of those things that it's around. If you are curious about that, what that looks like, do it, search for it. So Kaylee said, I was so lucky when we were in Alaska. We were in port, and right out our room balcony was almost 24 eagles, all flying, perching, and hunting fish.
Yeah.
So
they're amazing hunters.
Yes. So I pulled out the white owl, which you said is actually a snowy owl.
Yes.
Correct. And there's the feather. And owls, my husband has a connection with the barn owl, and so owls are always an important thing. Whenever I see an owl or I get an owl or a card with an owl on it, I pay attention to that. It says the wisdom and messages of the divine are within you.
Yes. I love owls too.
Mm-hmm.
They are so quiet, and they can be so big. They're just amazing birds. One of the things about owls that I've learned recently, which one is it? The one that has kind of the funny face on it. Barred owl, maybe?
Yeah.
Yeah. And there's a lot of them that come down from Canada into northern Minnesota in some winters when it's really cold. And unfortunately, they get hit a lot when they're in more populated areas because of that. And their vision is only forward because they're so focused on the prey that they don't have peripheral vision. And so they don't see the cars coming if they're going crosswise. And so way too many of them get hit. But I thought that's another attribute of owl, is to be very, very focused on their prey, and they're kind of built for that.
Yeah. And I always am fascinated by the fact that they have so many vertebrae in their neck, they can almost go completely around. So anytime an owl shows up, I'm like going, rotate your head, pay attention to everything that's going on, and stop talking and listen.
Yes.
So there are 22 or 21 different types of eagles.
Wow.
And Amanda said, I have to say, hawk is my favorite. Their call is one of my very favorite songs.
Yeah.
Yeah. And Cottonwood Heart has been making friends with the Oracle. That's cool. So All right, I'm going to give you the opportunity for the last
Ooh,
to share. No pressure.
ooh. Let's see. We've done so many of them. How well you can't not love the peacock. Isn't that
Mhm.
beautiful?
Yes.
It's such a beautiful illustration. And I like that they chose to show it with its tail down rather than up.
Yeah.
Inherent wisdom is emerging at this time. Watch it and ready yourself for a rebirth.
Hmm.
They're, have you ever seen they actually fly unless their wings are clipped like they are along, on some estates and everything.
Hmm.
Just I can't imagine being out in the wild somewhere and seeing a peacock fly by with those
Wow.
amazing tails. They're just gorgeous.
They are extremely loud, are they not? Many
Yes.
places will have them on the ground, so they're like watchdogs, so they're watchbirds.
Yeah.
So, yeah, Mousy is like pretty but evil.
And I
And
think they're totems in lots of or in lots of different belief systems. They hold them. They're very prized.
mhm. And it's the males that have the peacocks. This is the male because it's the getting the attention of the peahen. So
Yes. Yes.
showing off. So yeah. The legend is that Hera put her guard eyes on the feathers after he was killed. Yes.
Ah,
Yes. They're very special to Hera. And Annette said, McNay Museum in Austin has beautiful peacocks that only fly up to their tree at dusk.
that
And
would be beautiful to see.
yeah, Jonathan has a special connection with that. Yep. No, Amanda's like, "Good." Um, Penguins are pretty darn wonderful too.
There's so many wonderful birds.
Yes.
And just, talk about variety from penguins to peacocks to anything. They're to hummingbirds.
Oh, yes. Now this is a deck of 44 cards, available through U.S. Games. Purchase responsibly. Know your limits. We hope that that's helped you get some connection. If you want to experience this deck in action, definitely watch Joan when she's doing readings. And I do want to show what it's like to. I mean, it's an overhand shuffle very nicely, and it does riffle shuffle nicely. I am particularly fond of this proportion because it's twice as long as it is wide. So, but yeah. Anything you want to share with people about this deck, or you before we head off?
Well, just I think, especially if you love birds, it'll talk to you and spark ideas beyond the card description in your head.
Hmm.
And everybody connects with birds in one way or another. So I think it's a really nice deck. I use it usually. I just pick one card from three different decks, and oftentimes I don't get. There's nothing really there on two of them. So, but usually the feathers deck will have something to say.
Yes, and you were commenting that this book is actually very well written.
Yeah.
So there's a lot of good information in here. If you're considering looking at some sort of a totem, in particular a bird totem, this could be a great connection for you. So, um, and again, it's one of those things that Allison, the author, has got. I was exploring their website. They do a lot of different stuff. So the author is quite prolific as well. So
Wonderful. And
yes,
even if you don't get the deck, get out and just look at the birds. And you don't have to know anything about them to connect with birds. They're
no,
just, yeah,
I think yes, they provide messages.
yeah.
So, where will you be in the upcoming weeks?
In the upcoming weeks, a week from today, I will be on the Crone Zone for our monthly Wisdom Circle. I'm not sure who's presenting next week. And then on the same day, actually that's next Tuesday for both of these, Terry Suzuki and Sun Psychic Jean and I will be reading shortly after that. It's for our month. So that'll be fun. And we hope to see you there. How about
Yes.
you?
Please like and subscribe to Wisdom Seeker Joan. Show your support.
Thank you.
Later, tomorrow, I have Viviani Heller on for a casual at 2 p.m. Eastern. I'm looking forward to that. Then I am with Jamie for a Wandering Mountain Bardic Path for Back and Forth with Jamie and Gerald. That's at 4 p.m. Eastern. And we're doing foolish behavior. We're talking about foolish behavior. I'm a guest with Marina, Heart-Centered Tarot, on Wednesday the 2nd for sweet or sour readings. And I'm looking forward to that. So, yes. And I think this is one of those things. Just go outside and notice the birds. Stop talking enough to hear what they're communicating with each other and to others. I think that's so, so very important.
Yeah.
So very important.
And I want to thank you, Gerald, for arranging this, and to all of your lovely chatters who added so much to this conversation with their knowledge and experience about spiritual things and about birds. I really appreciate it. It was
You're so welcome. And, I do have the best chatters.
You do, yeah.
Future lurkers, the work lurkers, and all of that good stuff. So, and I know that everybody has a lot of options on where to spend their time online. Thank you very much for spending some time with us. I do appreciate it. So, it's springtime. The birds are all screaming, "Pick me!" Of course they are. Of course, and Linda knows that because I know that that's exactly what Wanda is doing. So,
yeah.
All right. So, everyone, thank you very much for being here, and we will see you again soon. Take care. Bye.
Bye.